So I'm gonna give you a little background information. Where we jump into the story of David is David has been exiled by Saul. In fact, Saul wants David dead. David begins to work with King Achish, the Philistine king, literally the enemy of the people of God. David finds refuge in him. David and his 600 men then begin to get engaged in some mercenary behavior. One of the low points in David's life outside of his uh, sin with Bathsheba later on. And as Saul and Achish are about to go into a big battle, David is literally signing up to fight on the side of the Philistines. When the Philistines see David, when the elders of the Philistines see David, they say in their mind, wait a minute, ain't this the brother that killed Goliath? How in the world are we going to fight with him on our side? If we fight with him on our side, what happens if in the middle of the battle, he turns on us? We can't have this dude fighting with us. You got to get him out of here, Achish. And so this is where we jump into the story. David had a safe place called Ziklag, and so he was being sent back to his safe place. 1 Samuel 30 and verse 1 says this, and it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, it took them 3 days to get there, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. I want you to see this. They're on their way home to their families. They've just avoided a war that would have led to David's ruin. If David fights on the side of the Philistines, it is an almost impossibility that he ever is crowned king over Judah or Israel, even though he had already been anointed. God got David out of the mess by sending him away because David had written a check he could not cash. But as they're traveling back home and they're in the distance and they come over one of the hills and they look in the distance, the smoke is still rising over the area where they left their families in a place called Ziklag. Verse 2 says, the Amalekites had taken the women captives that were there and slew not any. They didn't kill anybody, but carried them away, and they went on their way. To give you an idea of how this looks from a map, you can see this is where the Philistines were coming. This is where the war was. Ziklag, we believe, was somewhere down here. When I lived in Israel for a little while and studied Jewish history in college, and for college credit, and they tried this, and they don't really know for sure where Ziklag is, but somewhere down here. So the war is up here. David is here. He thinks he's going in the opposite direction of trouble, only to find more trouble than he left. 1 Samuel 30 and verse 3 says this. So David and his men came to the city. They get over the hill. They get down to where they see the smoke. And they found the city burned with fire, the Bible says. And their wives and their sons and their daughters were all taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. 600 soldiers and David, when they get home to what's supposed to be a safe place, it has been burned with fire. Their wives and their children are gone. And these men of war are weeping and crying to the point where they cry out all of their strength.